Hey friends, I'm just getting set up, but welcome. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining. I'm so excited. Today is a day of celebration, and I am sharing the mic with my good girlfriend, Jess Connolly. So, for those who are joining us, hey, Jess and Nick, thank you guys so much for sharing your platform with me. What a blessing, what an honor. I am so pumped about today and just talking with you all and giving you all a peek into our Juneteenth. And I just wanted to come in and go live and share a little bit about the history of Juneteenth. And so I'm excited. I didn't get my special Juneteenth shirt today, but I did wear my Rosa Parks shirt. So I'm excited about that. My earrings, y'all, let me just share these earrings. I got them from Rwanda. So just paying homage to culture in Africa. And I'm just so pumped about today. It's going to be such a good day. And I want to share with you all history about Juneteenth and also a little bit about the festivities, the food, the spirit behind Juneteenth, and then give some tips on how you all can celebrate Juneteenth. And so thank you so much for joining us. Hold on, let me see. I see you guys waving. Thank you. All right, so let's talk Juneteenth. I know that a lot of states have been celebrating Juneteenth for years now, but only recently, in the wake of just the nature of what has been happening in the world, that many people, many companies, many organizations are truly taking the stand to celebrate Juneteenth. And so, little background on Juneteenth. On Freedom's Eve, it was January 1st, 1863. So Freedom's Eve was a term for watch night. And so I don't know if you ever attended a watch night service, but that happens on New Year's Eve. And so what those watch night services that took place, they waited to see, they watched and prayed into the new year. Slaves would watch and they would pray into the new year to see if they would be released. And so they would be just watching and praying, and they would see if they would be released from their owners on January 1st. And so January 1st, 1863, there was a watch night service that took place, the first watch night service. And on that night, enslaved and free African Americans, they gathered in churches and in private homes all across the country awaiting the news. So the news that they were awaiting was that the Emancipation Proclamation had taken effect. And so at the stroke of midnight, all the enslaved people in the Confederate States were declared legally free. But not everyone in Confederate territory would be immediately free. And so although we celebrate our freedom as a country on July 4th for Independence Day, everyone was not free at that time. And so this is why Juneteenth is so important, because it was June 19th, 1865, when freedom finally came. And so I want to tell you a little something about that. So again, not everyone in the Confederate territory would immediately be free, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was made effective in 1863. it could not be implemented because some of those places were still under Confederate control. And in Texas, enslaved people were not free until much, much later. So June 19th, 1865, when some 2,000 Union troops, they arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas, and the Army announced that more than 250,000 guys, it was 250,000 enslaved Black people in the state, they were now freed by executive decree. And that day became known as Juneteenth by the newly freed people in Texas. So it took them 2 years later, a little over 2 years later. So January 1st, Emancipation Proclamation happens, and yet there were still 250,000 approximately people in Texas that were still enslaved due to Confederate rule. And so this post-emancipation period is known as the Reconstruction era, which also it marked just this era of great hope and all of these things happening. But Juneteenth, it does mark our country's second Independence Day. And so this is why you're going to hear so many people fighting to get this to be a nationally recognized holiday, because it should be. Because honestly, our country just, everyone wasn't free during when the Emancipation Proclamation had taken effect. And so this is why Juneteenth is so important. This is why we celebrate it. And I wanted to correct something that I said. The first watch night service took place January 1st, 1863. So it was on that night that the enslaved free African Americans, they gathered in churches and private homes across country awaiting the news that the Emancipation Proclamation had taken effect. So if you'll notice, on New Year's Eve, a lot of Black churches still today will have watch night services. And so that is where that tradition has come from, where if you ever attend a predominantly Black church or maybe an AME church for a watch night service, as a matter of fact, I encourage you to attend. It is absolutely a beautiful experience where people just you're just praying and just seeking the Lord together and worshiping God together. A lot of times we're praying on our knees, we're just seeking the Father up until January 1st. And so that is how that tradition was passed down and continues today in most watch night services. So that's where that came from. So I just wanted to make that clear. That was the first watch night service that was recorded. So how can you all celebrate? I know that Jess's audience is super diverse, and there also are a lot of entrepreneurial women, and so I want to speak to that as well. But in general, this is how it's celebrated. All throughout the country, you'll see different events happening in museums, and there's even communities now that are hosting block parties and things of that nature. But barbecuing, rodeos, fishing, all of that is a part of Juneteenth in ways that people celebrate. But Juneteenth was almost always focused on education and self-improvement. It was a time where the elders were brought in to recount the events of the past. And so at our Juneteenth celebration today with my family, we're going to talk about the history. It's not just, we're going to have some good food and some fun, but we're going to sit and discuss history with our friends and with our family, and just to recount that time. We're also going to have a time of prayer, because prayer services were also a major part of these celebrations. Another cool thing about Juneteenth, and I didn't know this, but one of the things that was really popular to drink during Juneteenth is strawberry soda pop. Okay, because it wasn't something that the slaves during that time were regularly able to drink. And so during a lot of Juneteenth celebrations, you'll see strawberry soda pop, or you'll see what we would drink, because my family is from the South, red Kool-Aid with a whole lot of sugar. So we'll probably treat ourselves to some red Kool-Aid today in our celebration. Some of the other things that you typically eat are barbecue, what's known as soul food. So we're gonna have, I know someone is making macaroni and cheese, collard greens. We're gonna have fried chicken, and because I don't eat chicken, no, I don't. I'm probably gonna have to fry some cauliflower, which I'm sure they didn't have fried cauliflower for Juneteenth celebrations, but because I don't eat meat, that'll be what I have. And so you'll also see meats such as lamb, pork, and beef, because they were not available every day. And it was a special occasion, and food is always abundant because everyone that comes prepares a special dish. Yes, I'm improvising, Jess. I'm going to have to fry up some type of vegetable. What else happens? Dress is an important element. A lot of times people wear things that are connected to their traditional roots. And so during the initial days of the emancipation celebrations, I thought this was really interesting. I wanted to share. There are accounts of former slaves tossing their ragged garments into the creeks and rivers and adorning themselves with clothing taken from the plantations belonging to their former masters. Like, I don't know, it's just something spiritual to me about that, just tossing the slave clothes and putting on fresh, new, beautiful garments. Like, just, that is so that truly represents just the freedom from bondage. And so that's beautiful to me. Super beautiful. But today, in natural times, most of us are going to wear Juneteenth shirts that speak to Black history, or may speak to African history as well. So I'm so looking forward to it. So the spirit of Juneteenth, let me talk about that. First of all, you don't have to be African American to celebrate Juneteenth. Juneteenth is inclusive of all races and all nationalities. Actually, I think it's a blessing to see our brothers and sisters of other ethnicities and races to join in and to celebrate with us. I think it's awesome. I know at our celebration today is going to be really diverse, and I'm just looking forward to sharing a part of our history, a part of our culture, a part of our food with them as well, and that we're going to share into it together as brothers and sisters in the faith. It is a day of reflection. It is a day of renewal. It is a time to appreciate the African American experience. And so as you are personally thinking about how you want to celebrate Juneteenth today, think about how you can appreciate the African American experience. Support maybe a Black-owned business for dinner today. Just order the foods and then share and sit down with your families and children and share this history with them as well. It's not appropriating Black culture. It's Juneteenth. So it's and that, yes, wondering what it looks like to acknowledge. Yeah, so it's not appropriating if you're joining in the celebration. So join in. Supporting a Black business as you're doing it, as you're joining in this celebration is in no way appropriating. I think it's honoring, actually. Juneteenth serves symbolically and in reality as a reference point from which to measure and appreciate the progress and contributions of African Americans to the society. So if you have children, you have families, it would be a good time to incorporate historical facts and things like just letting them know the history of Juneteenth and sharing African American history with them. So you have well-rounded children and well-rounded families. What else did I want to say? Oh, Juneteenth is a day that we commit to each other the needed support as family, friends, and co-workers. And it's a day that we build coalitions that enhance African American economics. So why is it so important to celebrate? And I see your comment, Jess. Why is it so important to celebrate? Why is it so important to support African American businesses? Because due to slavery, there was a 400-year lag behind that Black Americans have had over the rest of society. And so it is often more difficult at times for African American owned businesses to reach a level of success as maybe a white brother or sister's business. And of course we do it, but we don't have, it's like if there was a race, if all of you all are at the starting line and someone has a 400-year lead in the race, it takes much more time oftentimes to be able to catch up. And so that's why we say part of celebrating Juneteenth is supporting other African American business owners. Sharing the mic is something that you can do if you have a platform, which I'm honored that Jess Connolly has done for me. Sharing Black voices and things of that nature, like that's another way that you could celebrate. Another way in your marketing for the business owners, I would say, to speak about Juneteenth. Don't be afraid to acknowledge Juneteenth. It is not a Black holiday, so to speak, where, of course, it's honoring our emancipation, but it doesn't mean that you cannot celebrate that as well. And so I think a lot of times you may have wrestle with some fears in that, but I think that if if your heart and motive is pure, I think it's a beautiful thing to reach out to your neighbors and maybe tell them, hey, how are you celebrating Juneteenth? If you are, I would love to celebrate you. Maybe surprise them with a card in their mailbox. I think that would be so sweet and so dope. Surprise them with a card in their mailbox. Surprise them by, a gift card or anything. Just celebrating and loving on your neighbor, I think would be so amazing and so thoughtful. It's showing your neighbors, your African American neighbors, hey, I see you, I celebrate with you, I stand with you. And that's not appropriating at all. If you have friends that are celebrating, there's no harm in saying, hey, I've never celebrated Juneteenth. I would love to celebrate with you. If you're having a celebration, is there something that I can bring? I just want to be a part and I want to celebrate. I think that is awesome. And hey, if any of you were to ask me, you would be invited to my cookout. Jess, you are invited to my cookout. I wish you were here. But I think that we just have to use this day to be conscious of the contributions of African Americans and to celebrate that, to support those businesses, if you're a business owner, maybe give a discount today on this day in celebration. Maybe share about it within your marketing, using maybe the Pan-African flag colors, which are red, green, and black. Using those colors within the marketing and sharing and celebrating. This is a time of celebration where we all can participate. All of you have an opportunity to participate. And so I just want to invite you all in to this celebration in your own lives. And if you do not participate today, maybe there's something in your town and in your community that is happening tomorrow. I know there's a lot of celebrations happening, and I encourage you to take part, and then message me on my account. Let me know how you are celebrating Juneteenth. I am excited about it. And I'm going to be in the Insta stories later today as we have our celebration. It'll probably be about 6:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll start posting again, but thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Jess. And I'm just going to go through here and see if I had any other questions. Okay, Brandy said, how can we become more aware of African American businesses? Well, one way is to just expand your network and begin to develop friendships with African American people and African American business owners. And there's also in some areas African American chambers of commerce and things of that nature. And so I would say just start there and ask people and support there, and that will help with your awareness. I know that every town is different, and so you may not be able to see, hey sis, hey Karina, you may not be able to see, you may not have a lot of African American owned businesses in your town, but the beauty of the online world is that we are not far, we are connected. And so that is a way that you can connect. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Nick, for sharing the mic. And thank you all for watching. Have a happy Juneteenth. We are going to have some fun.